I'm Dr. Manon Fielding with Ask Me Anything Aging, and this video is part of an educational series on our YouTube channel about holistic anti-aging, so we can inform all genders about what they can do to remain healthy, hormonally balanced, and reverse their biological age naturally with minimal medical intervention. So today we're talking about the two most critical factors that can help you reverse your age. And I hope that you will participate. This is on a live chat. I don't know if you'll be watching it live or the recorded version, but participate with us anyway. So, okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so why is this so important for us to talk about right now while we're going through menopause, andropause? Because according to research, during that period of time when the hormones have fluctuated so dramatically, especially menopause, but andropause as well starting, it accelerates our aging by about 6%. That's what the research shows, and that's based on our current lifestyle. What are the most current lifestyle choices of the majority of Americans, especially? So that in our environment. So what do you think those two major factors are? What would you guess? So any of you who have signed in on the chat, give me a couple of ideas of what you think they are. Okay, so yes, Mary, metabolism is one of them. It's actually, I'm sorry, it's not one of them, but it is part of one of them. And it certainly is a critical factor as our metabolism changes over time. But there are two broad categories that are over that. And actually, both of them can affect metabolism. Anyone else? Yeah, hormones, very important. And there are a lot of misunderstandings about hormones, and that's part of what we're going to talk about today. All right, so let's go to the next slide and see what are those factors. Let's see the first factor. All right. All right, so none of you actually said stress, but stress is actually the number one factor that affects all of them. There are two major factors. That's what this is about. The major one is stress. And I'm going to explain to you why. We're going to talk a little bit more about what stress does to us and what kind of stressors there are and what it can do to us in terms of our menopause and aging. A very critical factor. So I like to look at it in two ways, and looking at the two basic types of stress. This helps me understand it better and helps me help my clients better. Is you have internal stress and you have external stresses. So what are some internal stresses? Let's take a look at that one first. So these are kind of some of the most important internal stresses that I see with clients. So you have past trauma, which could be neglect, abuse, all of those kind of fall under that category. It may be due to a more current relationship. It could be something that happened when you were a child that gets stored in the body, and it seems to erupt and come out more during menopause because of the hormonal fluctuations. And they all affect us pretty dramatically. You may have old feelings from previous things that you have done or that have so-called been done to you in terms of feeling guilty, having fear, anger, shame. Those kind of feelings, when they're very prevalent, they're not good or bad, but when they're prevalent, you start feeling like you have very little control over your life because they affect your ability to actually take actions to get you out of that. And you often need professional help of some sort to help you navigate through those feelings. And what a lot of us tend to do is medicate over it, and all that does is drive it down deeper, and it never allows you to really deal with those feelings and allow you to be truly happy in your life, because you have these feelings driving your behaviors. Negative thought patterns are part of that. So it's just like inroads in your brain that constantly play this thing about you're not being good enough. That's like the major one that all of us pretty much go through. There's something wrong with us. We don't do something right. That's why we don't have the right job, the right boyfriend, girlfriend, money, whatever it is. We have these negative thought patterns and beliefs that run through our head, and those are actually cause a lot of aging, and they're considered internal stressors. So we'll talk a little bit more about how we usually handle internal stressors, but think about how you have handled it in the past, and then we'll talk a little bit more about other ways that might be more successful. Oh, that's what we just said, sorry. The internal, we're going to get to how we deal with a lot of those. So let's look at external stressors. Can you name some of those? What are things that are outside of us that in our environment that may cause stress? Okay. Yes. Yes, you all have a good, that's true. So work, you probably, most people in menopause, andropause, a lot of them are still working. So work can be a definite stressor. What else? Yes. Okay, we have, so you have family stress, and that different types of stress. So you can have a stress in a relationship with a partner. You can have stress of children. A lot of women do express that, the term empty nest syndrome during midlife. A lot of us have children that go to school or move away. My daughter just moved out a year ago, and I'm still pining that, but actually it's been great. And you just kind of adapt to new and find the wonderfulness of whatever is happening at that time. So that's one way of dealing with the external stressor, and looking at it as an opportunity. So there are different ways that we can learn how to deal with that. A lot of people also dealing with parents that are elderly and having to take care of them at the same time they have children. These are external stressors, and they often really affect our physiology and how it ages our body and how it affects our menopause, andropause. And men and women do have very different ways of dealing with these things. Okay, let's take a look at the list. So we did name the spouse, partner, relationship, family, work. Oh, the other one is financial. So if you're in a financial situation where you're a single parent, for instance, and you're not getting a lot of help, or you're, like I said, you're having to deal with an elderly parent and your children and your own lives, it can be a pretty big financial stress. And also, there are a lot of women who are looking into the future and saying, how am I going to live my life in a reasonable way on Social Security, and what am I going to do financially? And that can cause a lot of internal stress, worrying about that kind of thing. So all of these things increase our aging, meaning our physiology. And I did explain, a little bit about that, the repair process versus the ability to repair. So you have, it can worsen the menopause and andropause symptoms. And generally you can understand that the more symptoms you have of the list, the more your body is aging. So suppressing your immune system, if you have autoimmune challenges or you get sick a lot, you have a lot of pain, increased pain in joints. Diminished bone density, it can cause pain and is also can lead towards broken bones, and that's a very serious situation. Increasing your blood pressure is very common. Unhealthy eating habits, so you might eat more or less. Depression, which then can lead to isolation. You have sleep disturbances, which is probably one of the more common things, even with people who so-called are getting HRT and getting balance. They still often have sleep disturbances, which is an indicator that there's something else at play there. Diminishing activity levels, not keeping up with exercise, a lot of increase in substance use, especially alcohol, but it could be other substances, cigarettes or whatever, and diminished social connection. So all of these things increase our aging and are an effect of stress. And those are serious side effects. Okay, factor number 2, and you did guess this one earlier, is hormonal imbalance. So it's not just the diminishment of certain hormones, it's really about the balance. And there's so many more hormones than most people are aware of because they're not as publicized and they're not as prominent. But in addition to estrogen and testosterone, there are these other ones, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that and how that is a stressor and affecting aging. So stress increases the hormone cortisol. That's your stress hormone, and it works well when there's a little bit of stress, but as the stress stays at a higher level and the cortisol stays high in addition to adrenaline, which both of them increase your fight or flight response, which is your sympathetic nervous system that makes you feel on edge and give irritability, anxiety, the sleep disturbances, all are related to that fight or flight response. And pain is another one. Poor digestion, I didn't mention that one. That's another one too, because you're putting so much energy into all these other systems that then there's not enough for your digestive system and it doesn't work properly. And all of those lead to increased aging. Now, what about, we talked about the hormonal imbalance. Well, cortisol disrupts not only estrogen and testosterone, but your thyroid hormones, progesterone, and men and women have all of these hormones, not just, and we just have some of them in different amounts and different balances, different percentages. DHEA, which is a very important hormone for aging, insulin. So that's one reason why there's an increase in weight issues and an increase in sugar balance, diabetes, and prediabetes, all because of this effect on insulin. And if we balanced our hormones, we might not have that problem. Of course, you want to balance other things in the body, but that's very important. Then you'll have growth hormone, LH and FSH, which is affect your women's menstrual cycles, and actually it does play a role with men in the testes and does have a role in sperm production, which I didn't realize till fairly recently. But it is having that increased stress can also affect ability of men and women to have proper reproduction, where they're producing good sperm that are motile, and women that are having regular cycles and having good egg production and release for reproductive purposes. So if you're trying to get pregnant, you need to get all these hormones balanced, and it's not, like I said, not just estrogen and progesterone. Leptin and ghrelin are very involved with your appetite and with weight gain. And when you don't understand why you're gaining weight, it's probably because these are out of balance, the leptin and the ghrelin. And that's something that you can, there are supplements and things that you can do to correct that. And aldosterone is a kidney supplement, I'm sorry, kidney hormone that regulates your water balance. And it's one of the reasons why, as we get older, we don't feel thirsty. It also affects urinary tract and urinary system. And it can lead to, and when it's really out of balance, it can increase the likelihood of kidney disease and kidney problems. And all of this can be corrected. So you see what I was saying is why it's so important to fix this now at an early stage, because it can be very preventive. And I forgot to mention about prostate cancer and breast cancer, that when you get your hormones really balanced correctly, you can prevent both of those diseases. So I'm very, very interested in helping people with this. Okay, so what can we do? The question of the year, of our lifetime, I think. Okay, so what I highly recommend is a Dutch complete hormonal test, and hormonal with the hormone balance coaching, because you have to have someone that understands not only how to read the test, but what to do once you find the problem. So that is really essential. Now, the Dutch Complete Hormone Test, I'll just give you briefly an understanding, is a test that is a 24-hour test of a number of different hormones: progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, pregnenolone, cortisol, and it looks at these on an overall, like a daily basis. Not all of them are looked at over 24 hours because they're not all essential, but it's a urine collection over a number of different times of the day. And it is remarkably effective when they use, there's certain questions that they ask you before you take the test. And if there's any question about the results, they actually will put it on the report and say, you know, this may not be accurate. You might need to do a blood test. And so I'm very impressed with the way that this test is done. And I highly recommend it if you're looking to balance some of these problems. Then stress support are things that you can do yourself, self-healing techniques, and professional. So what are some of the ones that are most effective based on research, okay? So exercise. So for stress specifically, slow exercise like Tai Chi and yoga have the biggest effect on cortisol and stress hormones and stress in your body in terms of healing. And it doesn't mean that it's not important to do resistance and more heavy exercise. It just means that those are better for this purpose. Breathing, deep breathing. There's all kinds of deep breathing exercises, and I highly recommend that you learn how to breathe properly, which means deep breaths all the way down to your belly, all the way up, so that you get full lung capacity, and slow your breath down. So I have a video on this if you are interested on my YouTube channel. Mindfulness and meditation. Healthy diet. Of course, you can't eat enough fruits and vegetables and healthy fats and fiber. So those are kind of the critical components. I also have a video on this, and diet is essential for helping with stress. Recommend 7 to 9 hours. If you're not getting that amount of time to repair your body and mind, then that is an issue. Social support, even having one friend. And you know what you can include here is if you have a pet. That's one reason why pets are so important for people who are kind of isolated, may not relate, or have issues that they can't relate as much to people. Having a cat or a dog. Of course, a dog does require a lot more energy to take care of. So you just have to evaluate the situation, but it does make a big difference in the stress level. Then professional coaching and counseling, someone who specializes in the hormonal balance and holistic techniques are proven to get the best results with the least amount of side effects. That's my goal. There are supplements that we highly recommend depending on your situation, and the amount and the type make a big difference in terms of the overall picture of your health and well-being, if you're on HRT or not, and if you're on medications. We have to take that all into consideration, so you need to be working with someone that has that expertise. The two that I recommend the most in terms of hormonal balance are ashwagandha and maca. They have slightly different effects. They're both adaptogenic herbs. Ashwagandha is very helpful with depression, anxiety, and really energy and the whole system. But maca is a little more. There's specific maca that's for men and for women in different stages of their life that I strongly recommend, that are good underlying. I'd say that everyone needs something that's kind of foundational support, and then there may be certain other supplements that need to be taken for specific purposes, either to address a specific issue or that your body needs it. And Simplex F and M are also really important. Those are from Standard Process, who is a holistic, they're a holistic company, meaning that they have their own organic farm. They take their products from their own production and all the way through to the production of the supplements. And I think they're way over 100 years old now. So I highly respect their products. The Simplex F and M help to balance all the hormonal organs. So the pituitary, adrenal, thyroid, and either ovary or testes, and so female or male. And there are many more, like I said. So practitioners who focus on causes, not only symptoms, which is not your medical profession, right? For the most part, I wouldn't say all of them are like that, but most of them. Acupuncture, chiropractic, naturopathic, much more holistic and get to more of the cause of the issue than traditional medical care. So guys, did you learn something today? Yeah, I appreciate it. It is really important, and I hope that this just stirred up some interest, that you want to learn more and join our school.com group, menopause-anti-aging. And it's free this month. I have free courses that are some more involved than this one, some on all different topics around aging and menopause. Discounts on our two larger programs, the comprehensive anti-aging program and hormonal balancing programs. And I don't want you to join unless you want to learn and grow together. And of course, you can like and subscribe this video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much, and I look forward to meeting you again. Namaste.